Anderson.
And I'm Jack Hinkle.
Welcome back to Chops Podcast, broadcasting live from Concord Community High School in Elkhart, Indiana. Jack, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. Steve, how are you doing?
Really? You're good?
Why was that so condescending? What do you want me to say? You want me to say I'm bad? You're like, oh, really, Jack? You're good? No, Steve, I am exhausted. The date is May 7th. We were at work until 10 p.m. last night. Yeah, I'm exhausted. What do you want me to say? You want me to say that? You want me to say I'm exhausted? Because I will.
Jack has entered the May zone. Maybe grumpy. May.
Okay, that's like when everyone tells lies. Like, how you doing today? I'm great. Is anyone ever great?
Shut it down!
Say my name. Okay. Actually, no, I am actually doing okay.
Oh, stop it. You were like grumpy yesterday. Come on. You got so much stuff going on. You don't have time to be happy, Jack.
This is like the thing when if you tell somebody like you can get somebody angry if you keep telling them that they're you're
Can
angry.
you, Jack?
Yeah. Can
No,
you? Can
really, Jack?
No,
Are you
I'm
angry,
fine.
Jack?
Yeah, I'm fine, Steve. I'm fine. Stop it. Oh, look, our 40 minutes are up. Okay, we'll see you next.
This time of year, teachers collectively take a breath. You know what's crazy is
Tell me what's
I
crazy.
have nothing on the desk right now. Thanks to Jack for the three of you that watch our video podcast or, on the reels. But I have nothing on the desk.
I think the keys or the phone are gonna show up here
Nope,
by the end of
I
the
got the
episode. No, by the
stopwatch
end of the episode, they're gonna show up.
Nope.
And you're gonna hear the jingle like.
Nope.
in the
And I don't have
background.
my phone. I have my stopwatch going so I know what our timer is. It's clean.
Can Steve keep his hands still for 35 minutes?
Okay. I think it's interesting because our last day of school is May 30th. And then I think our teacher last
Day's
day
the
is
31st.
31st.
Yeah.
So that's the Friday after Memorial Day.
Yes.
Okay. So my brother-in-law teaches in Western Mass. He gets out like June 20th. So it's always fun this time of year. I'm like, what up, Holmes? And I have like 3.5 weeks left. And he's just like getting going.
You should not be doing anything in June.
Yeah.
June needs to be nothing.
Now, the flip side of that is,
He doesn't go to school till October.
yeah, we go to school in middle of August, and he's like the week after Labor Day.
I would rather have it our way. August is like tough. It's so hot.
You'd rather have it our way?
Yeah, I'd rather get out in June. I think June's more pleasant.
Oh, because June is a better vacation
August
month.
is disgusting in
stinks.
Indiana. It's tough. So what are we down to, like 18 days, 17 days?
Well, it's like, is it 18 days? Yeah, because what's today, the 7th? Yeah, so we got 3.
I just kind of feel like we're in like an endless time
Yeah, we are.
loop.
17 days.
Yeah,
So,
it doesn't matter. It's going to feel like a month.
but it's there's a mathematical formula. We've talked about this.
Yes.
Because the days go like 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12,
11 and a half.
11 and a half,
11.
11, 10,
12. Okay. It goes back up
Yeah, a
in
couple
time.
days it gets longer,
Like, wait
but
a
you're like
second,
in
what?
this wormhole of time,
Like,
you
what?
can't get out.
What day is it? Didn't I take finals already? What?
Especially after Jazz Cafe, like our
Oh.
big jazz concert at the end of the year,
Dude.
like on May 17th.
After Jazz Cafe, school is just like it's a wormhole. It's space-time vortex. Kids are like,
you
what
go
day
to
is
school
it?
on
I'm like, I
Tuesday,
don't
next
care.
day you come back, it's Monday. You're like, wait.
Stop it. Stop.
You eat so much pie and graduation cake, you just kind of feel icky. You need insulin that time of year.
I remember those times being really fun as a kid, though. Like as a student, like those last couple weeks of school, because you're taking finals or you're studying for finals, so there's not much learning going on. It's all like review, and the responsibilities are like lessening as a kid, and you just have fun. Teaching, you're trying to like put out fires and also clean your house at the same time. It's like the smoke detectors are going off in every room, but like the Windex is somewhere and you're looking for the towel to wipe it with. And the towel's on fire. Oh, I'm on fire. Okay. Yeah, this isn't going well. That's teaching in May.
Yeah. They should just eliminate May from teaching. You just go
Use April. Hey, it's June. What is that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about systems. We're going to talk about organizational systems or lack thereof. Now, I will profess.
Here we go.
No, I'm gonna
Profess it.
I'm gonna be nice to Jack. Jack is an organized fellow. Jack compartmentalizes like an ice cube tray. He's got all his little bricks in a place. He uses Google Keep. You go into his office. There's no paper. There's no clutter because he doesn't use paper. Everything's digital. He's got it in the calendar. If a survey needs to be done by the administration, I'm sure he does it on first read. Swipe, clean it out. He's got no extra emails. And he has a system, and he copies and pastes the system for the next year and then opens it up and copies and pastes the next year, opens it up. Right?
I was waiting for the punchline. I was
Yeah.
waiting for the, but he biffed this yesterday. And it was, okay.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah,
See,
Steve just gave me an authentic compliment, everybody. Listen
that's
to
the
that.
name of the episode.
Uh,
Steve.
Steve gives Jack an authentic compliment.
Good job, Steve.
Never again. That's
It's
the
good.
final one for Chops until we have to shut it down.
That's good.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
do.
You do that.
Um,
do.
I do that. Well,
How do you learn that? Where'd you get that idea from? Of being organized. Is that
Honestly,
like a parent thing.
I think it started as a school thing. Because I remember getting those cute little, I think we talked about this once on the air, those cute little planners like in first grade
Oh yeah.
that they would make you write your homework in, just
Yeah.
whatever assignment you had to do.
Right.
And you had to get your planner signed every night by your parents. And I was the kid that if I forgot to get it signed, I would be crying to my first grade teacher the next day. Like literally 6-year-old Jack in tears because I hated not getting that stuff done. So I started it there. And then they kept giving us planners at the school. You remember that?
Yes.
And they did that for a long time.
Yep.
They gave us planners, and that was like instilled in me to like write stuff down. So I always wrote it down in the planner. I don't know if I always checked the planner, but I always wrote it down because I just had that like instilled at me from like first grade. Shout out to Mrs. Ferris. She's my first grade
First
teacher.
grade.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Ferris. She was a baller.
Yeah.
She was good at Concord Oxbow. So that's how I started doing it. And then I like in college, I started using like digital tools. Like that's like when like the Reminders app came out on iPhones when I was in college. So I started using that. And then I got to Concord and we're a Google school. And then I started using Google Keep and just finding ways to get all that stuff done. So yeah, I have like a to-do list on my desk at all times. I've told Steve I have my, like at school, we have a laptop and then we have a monitor that we use as our workstation. So my monitor is like my main screen, big screen, but the laptop screen always has Google Keep on it open. That's the first thing I open when I get to school, and I just have it there, and then I can see all my to-do lists, and I have it sorted out like by classes. So like Wind Ensemble has like one sticky note that's a digital sticky note. Sinfonietta has a digital sticky note. Piano does, orchestra, and then Jazz 3 and Club 406.
Then
and then
you do like tasks and you put the check boxes.
yeah,
stuff.
because that's so like it's such a good
Satisfying.
feeling to
Yeah,
click
yeah.
off the checkbox. Then I have just a generic high school stuff, just anything I need to do that doesn't fall into a class, and then I keep a personal.
Nice things to do for Steve. Right.
Yeah, I'll make that one at some point.
Right. Exactly.
And then,
Okay. And then personal.
and then personal. So, which by the way, I just renewed my plates today because I got that in yesterday in my mailbox.
Oh, good job.
Time to renew.
Wow.
Yes.
I still have 6 months.
That's a nice couple $100 out the door. So that's my system, and there's other things that go in with that that I've used along the way. But enough about my systems. Let's talk about Steve's systems. You got color coding on Keep. Your Keep is pretty.
It is.
It's-
But you
it's
know what, though?
aesthetic.
My key, I'm not going to get my phone because I almost wanted to look at it. But the Google Keep has been glitching lately on my phone. Does it do that for you?
No, what is it?
Mine, like, I open it up and then it, like, freezes, like, daily. Like, and then I go to make a new line and then it just stares at me. And then I tap it again and then, like, 10 seconds later, it opens and then I got 3 more lines. And then I check something off. And then 10 seconds later, yeah.
Okay, I think I know your solution
What
because
is
that
it?
happened to me.
What is it?
If you have like one note that you've kept forever and then it'll say like 300 completed
Yeah.
items, you got to go through and delete those items. Because that happened to my computer, like when I started it and they like lift it up. Because if you use those all the time, you get hundreds of checked boxes in the
Yeah.
dead space, right? So I think it loads in that information every time. So if you go out and clear the checked items,
And that's an option.
that's an option. You
Okay.
can get rid of that. It'll go quicker.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay,
So
Keep
my-
is saved for Steve. We got it. Okay.
So mine is not quite. I do have the daily. I was just telling Jack just before we started recording that, like in the morning, if I think about something like, copy this piece of music or make sure that you communicate with this person or call this person, like and it does, and it could be family, and it could be school, it could be whatever. So I do that. But then like on some other, so I don't have one for each class.
Okay.
I just have one like kind of like a scrolling to do, right? But then I do have like some other ideas, just kind of like some brain chatter about some like musical pieces. Like when I think of something, oh yeah, I like this tune, I put this in here and like kind of that. But then also I have something like I've used that for different times, like for projects around the house, or yard care, or projects with the boys.
Good lines to roast me with for chops.
Exactly.
in
And
weeks
I
ahead
am
of
getting
time.
low on those there, Jack. Getting low. Okay, so my system, I do write down the things that come to my mind on Google Keep, but my main source of organization comes from like Google Drive, and it used to be like Microsoft Windows files.
Oh yeah, back in
Right.
the day.
And then we switched over. But I learned this system from my band director, and then who was my boss here, who was my lead teacher, the director of music, Max Jones. And he helped me do some things. So like the idea is that like every class period or every ensemble had its own folder, okay? But rather than being in alphabetical order, you number it, right? So you number it by what class period it is. So whenever you opened up your files, then it would be in numerical order, right? So that was like the first thing was like the number sequence. But then the second thing is like when he was like, then when you go to, okay, like if you're in jazz band, one of the folders you're going to have in jazz band is performances. And then in performances, you're going to have all your performances are going to be subfolders of that. So, and we start with a fall concert. We do Christmas Spectacular. We do the Purdue Jazz Festival. We do a weekend of jazz. We do Carnival, like, 6 or 7 performances. And then so you click on Purdue. Now, if I click on Purdue and I opened it, it goes all the way back to 1999. And like every year that we've gone to Purdue, there's a different folder. So I can see exactly what we did in all those years.
Nice.
So that's very helpful. Like, so we are in the midst of a project right now, Jack and I, a collaboration called Jazz Cafe, where we have a big jazz production next Friday in our gymnasium, and there's a lot of moving parts. There's food catering, there's decorations, there's sound and lights, and there's
1,000 people.
1,000 people, and there's guest bands, and there's guest artists, and there's
Lots of barbecue.
and there's a coffee shop, and there's W9 forums, and there's solo lists, and there's microphone etiquette, and all this kind of stuff, right? So when I open up, I go to performances, and then I go to Jazz Cafe, and then I can see it from 1998.
Yep.
Every year is there. So then what I do is, like right now, I'm in obviously 2024, and I have my files in there. So maybe there's 20 files, 20 documents in 2024. But the way I got 2024 is I went back to 2023, and I copied that entire folder, and I dumped it into 24. So now it says copy, but it's a numerical order. So I go to the top, and then every time I click off a task or renew it, then I get rid of the copy, and I put 2024, and then I can see what I've done.
And Steve got rolling with this, I think, probably on your Sunday work sesh, because I got some Monday morning schedule sends, and this was last week, not this week, but you started sending me out some stuff with like the set list and the table program.
Yes.
And you sent it to me and just said, hey, fill this out when you get the chance. So Steve had it. So it said it was the copy of, because it's not finished yet. And every text, all the text was in red instead of black. And so his system is that he goes back once it's completed, he puts it in black. So if he's going through his documents and he sees that there's red, it means, that means warning, this isn't ready yet.
Right.
And so once he gets it back to completed, he'll put it back in black. So I thought that was a good system, and I've used that for, I think you've taught me that, and I've used that for some things like with our carnival scripts from year to year. I put it in red if it's not
right.
updated.
Yeah, the repeating docs, where there's some things that are the same, but you want to make sure that you got to everything.
Yes, because I did get cooked by that because I gave kids jazz stuff for this year, and it like for the ladies' dress it said green accents
Yes.
instead of, and I was like, uh-oh, okay. So then this year I highlighted it and colored it pink, so the text is always jumping out at me for the color. So next year, when we're whatever color it is, I'll say it'll be like sticking out because it's a different color text,
Awesome.
and so now it'll help me. So goes to say that the system is always changing.
Right. So I think that's good. The number system. So don't go by alphabetical order. Go by like calendar year. So it kind of flows in numerical order, like the order that you'd want to pull it out of the drawer. That's helpful. And then keeping track of every year. Now sometimes I do go back and look at past years. And kind of see what's up. So that has been something that's been good to do that. And then also I've been lately, like this spring, winter, spring, I've been more thoughtful about my email with Gmail and making more folders in my Gmail just because I'm coming across more documents and more plans and more calendars and I just want to make sure. Huh?
You're so important with all your files and documents and emails. He's got to make folders now, everybody. He's just getting too much communication.
Okay, now the tables have
The
turned.
turntables. What did Michael Scott say?
No, he said, now the turns have tabled.
No.
Right? So, yeah, but because then it doesn't just like it doesn't like billow up in your Gmail.
Were you ever the guy that had like the like badge of like 128 like on your Gmail at one time or on your personal mail because you just never read it and you see it on your phone? It's like a 3-digit number. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Like
I mean,
when you open when you
one
look
of my
at your
files
phone,
right now says 10,000.
what you have 10,000 unreads? What did I say? What did I say? Mark it down. Phone is back out. Here we go.
13,000.
You do not have 13,000. Yeah. Let me see. Wait. Let me see. Let me see this 13,000. Oh my gosh. 13,474 unreads.
But that's not okay. So
That's your other school's account that you're working for right now.
that's my other life. So, but that's not my work. My Gmail for school is in there, but my
Well, how do you know if you have a new email?
go to you open it up and the whatever's blue is at the top.
Why don't you just delete that? You're clearly not reading those emails, right?
Well, there's a lot of trash in there, obviously.
Well, why do you not just sign out? I don't understand why you need a badge that says 13,000 unread emails. Steve, it's okay. We can talk about this.
There's some stuff I don't want to delete. I don't. Okay. One of them is iCloud, which I never use unless it's for something Apple.
You're right. That's
Right?
Yeah.
And then we have the family email that Kathy and I have shared since we first got email in Elkhart. And then I think my school email's tied to that too.
Okay.
So if I want to know, like, my Gmail's up to date, but I don't use the other stuff for very much communication. It's a lot of subscription and blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
So there have been times I've started scrubbing through that, but I have a hard time just going delete the whole thing because there's a lot of history involved.
A lot of history. Sentimental.
Now, that is a lot. One of our coworkers has 40,000.
In the music department?
Yes. That I came across last week.
40,000.
And there were 3 of us together, and 2 of us saw it. We're like, 40,000?
I have a guess.
Okay. So that kind of does go against my professing that I'm organized, but my Gmail for work is like where I need to be the most organized. There's not a lot of stuff coming in that's like family.
Sure.
It's on different platforms now. Now, I don't know. I'm sure you don't have any unread text, right?
No.
Just checked his phone watch. It's a fotch. Okay. he got it. My sons, though, especially my younger son, those rack and kids, teenagers, their messages rack up.
Bling, 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 bling.
But there are like a ton of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's group chats. I think kids are in like way too many group chats, and those things are just firing off constantly. Dude, that's terrifying.
But then how do you know then? So then I say to my son, son, I just texted you. Really? Well, like,
Well, how do you know if you get an email if you got badges going all the time? Sorry,
How-
I'm just trying to roast you. Okay, we'll move on.
I check my email multiple times through the day. So I know if there's anything at the top.
Do you use Gmail on your phone?
Yes.
Oh, so that your Apple is the one that has the badge. Oh, so you're not getting badges on your Gmail. Okay, you're absolved from your sins.
Listen, I have two ways of checking my Gmail. I can go to my inbox, and that's everything is all together. 3 different emails. This is a lame conversation, but this 3 emails, or I can just go to Gmail. My Gmail.
Okay. The phone's coming back out, everybody.
My Gmail has nothing.
Okay, but so Gmail is work. That's where you
Yes.
Okay, we're
The
back.
other stuff is like funny money. Like,
Funny money. Okay, so back to your son.
it's hard to know like when Dad texts him because it's hard to see like when the counter changes. If you already have 120 in there, you're not going to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Then if I'm on his favorites, I think it says Dad, or no, it says Father.
Father.
It does, like when you go to your favorites,
Yeah.
it doesn't have next to Father 3 unread messages. That's kind of a flaw in that system.
Do you have read receipts turned on?
No, what's that?
Like, so if you read a text, it tells whoever you're texting that you read it?
No.
Okay.
Okay, we got some work to do.
No, I don't have those turned on. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
I just didn't know, like, because then if Jacob sees that you read his text, he could see that you read his text, or vice versa, and that
Right.
might help.
I
Or
always
is this
get
Adam? I just assumed Jacob.
Jacob.
Okay.
I get back with my sons immediately.
That's just
Text-wise.
the kind of stand-up guy you
That's
are.
just the kind of dad I am. I just kind of don't want to leave the boys out there, but I don't text during class. But
No.
no, okay. So, but then part of it is, so the Google Keep,
Yep.
the file folder systems,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and then the slideshows.
Oh, slides.
Slides, the slideshow for Jack Hinkle is like a
Stay with it, buddy. Stay with it. There was just voices outside in the hallway. Okay. The
my dog
slideshow.
listening from the car. It's like, Dad home, Dad
Squirrel.
home, Dad home,
Squirrel.
Dad home. Okay, so like the slideshow, like Jack does this extracurricular ensemble called Club 406. It's like our 4th jazz band.
There's 406 people.
406 people, just about. It's like the University of Auburn marching band. It's and he has a number of slides, and he has like at least 20 slides in there because he has like 13 rehearsals, and like each rehearsal is mapped out, but it's kind of like the same template as last
Yeah,
time,
I was just thinking about that.
right? And then you change it over,
Yes.
and then he has the same calendar every year for the rehearsals since it's after school, and he has 12-ish rehearsals, and basically the same reminders on it,
Yeah.
and the same thing.
Dude, that's like such a win. I think that's the biggest thing about being a veteran teacher. Can I call myself a veteran teacher yet? Is 7 years enough?
Yeah.
Okay. As a
Yeah,
veteran
'cause
teacher.
you're like a newlywed for 1 year, and then after that, it's over. You're not. So I think after
5 years.
3, maybe 4. Okay, maybe 4. Like you're not a new teacher,
So
especially in today's age. You're like an old teacher.
I know inflation of teacher age. It's instead of dog years, it's
You
teacher
say
years.
teacher rage. Also,
Teacher-
teacher rage. Okay, go ahead.
Cue the Steve scream. I have found that like understanding the pace of the school year, like after year to year, helps my systems tremendously because I don't need to write down as much. I kind of know the temperature of a February in Sinfonietta
Mm-hmm.
or May in jazz band. Like, I know what that feels like, and I know where we're going. And as you would say, I may not know how we're getting there, but I know where we're going. I know where we're going to end up. And having that like kind of template of Club 406, like Steve was talking about, is very helpful to me. I think we've talked about this before too on this podcast, but I create a map like for our rehearsal schedule for our young concert band, and like days and weeks benchmarked, planned out. I don't ever it's my safety net. It's not my gospel. Like, I don't need to follow it.
It's to take care of future Jack.
It's taking care of future Jack, or to make future Jack panic if necessary. I don't think I panicked from it yet, but it just it helps me keep things moving. And, you know, being a team teacher with Steve and our other colleague, percussion director, Matt Allman, I send that out to them every week, send a little screenshot of the week, and they know where to find the document if they want to know where they're going on how to teach some things. And, I mean, that's been helpful too. And I think you taught me this my first year, is that, like, write down like a user manual for your job, like for your first year. Like, what does this look like in marching band when you're teaching sectionals in July? What does it look like?
I told you that? That's a good idea.
I think we did. Actually, it was Band Festival my first year, like we were setting up. And then we can talk about Band Festival and how much of a system that is. But giving yourself notes like from year to year, like, hey, this didn't go well.
Yep.
Remember to do this next year. And then you just have a file that you can go back.
Yeah.
And we do that with our events like Jazz Cafe and Band Festival.
Yep.
We do it with our music that we play. Like, you have your little mega list of like all these jazz tunes you want to play someday, and you give yourself notes. I made one of those like early on, like mass repertoire list, and I tag them like what ensemble, difficulty level, stuff that like key things about those tunes that you'd want to play them for, and why to come back to them. So stuff like that, just like taking notes for yourself from year to year. And then it's so easy, like with technology, to just pull that stuff up and check.
Yeah.
Super easy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I remember doing that. I can believe I told you that, because I used to do that with beginners. Like teaching beginning band woodwinds in the summer. Okay. And doing that for many years. Like I had my not even lesson plans, but kind of like my core goals.
Okay.
You know, and then my
big rocks,
not like for sure, like nice. What you had to do. And what I did was, like, I think I had a document, but like one was like to be done before the kids get there, like the week before.
Yeah.
What to do the morning of, and then what to do in the first class, and then what to have done in the first week.
Dang, you really took care of future Steve.
And then what to have done in the first month.
Nice.
Like, so then it was, and then I would go back and adjust it so it was relevant to me, but then also I could be remembering what doesn't work. And I, like for Jazz Cafe, I have a document, I think it's called Looking Ahead.
Yeah.
To Jazz Cafe, and if I go back, it goes all the way back to the 90s, and like each year I just type on top of it. And so this one I'm looking at is 23 to 24, some things I remember from last year, but then already starting 24, looking ahead at 25.
Nice.
Like, what do we need to do? Is there something, you know, with parents or with vendors or with, you know, sound design or whatever, you know? So, and then also something I started doing more recently.
Lesson planning?
Nope, don't do that. God. What are you now, like Steve Trollerson?
I don't know. I think I've just like had so many episodes where I'm like, I need to fend for myself, man. And then just have these moments.
You're like Jack Trollerson over here. Jack Sniperson.
Jack Sniperson.
Yeah. Okay. No, so I started doing this, like sending my, putting dates in my calendar for next year.
Okay.
So like last night at Band Festival, we hosted Band Festival in our school gymnasium last night, where we had a cast of 450 students, grades 6 through 12. All the bands in the Concord schools play together as one mass ensemble, and then there's 2 smaller setups, and each band plays. Grade 6, 7th, and 8th, 4 concert bands at the high school, 3 jazz bands play. We do a senior recognition, and we play 2 closing standard tunes.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there were some things last night that were going on that I sent myself a calendar remind.
Oh, nice.
Like, for April. April 1st
Of
or
2025.
April 2025.
Cool.
Remember to do this and this for band festival.
Nice.
So I've started doing that and like looking ahead because I'm not really sure where to put that document. Yes, and some of my responsibilities are going to be changing in the next few months and like looking ahead. So I don't need to think about that stuff all the time. And I don't need to keep track of it with sticky notes. But if I just send myself a calendar like, hey, remember this. And I did that for ISMA contest too. Like a month ago, we had it here.
Yeah.
Like just some thoughts I thought about like
Cool.
organizational, like remember to do this or remember to tell the kids this. And so that's a system that's been looking at.
I think that future reminder stuff, I mean, that, especially in the digital age, that is like so easy and it's just golden. Like I do that all the time on my phone, Google Keep. I will be at home just doing something and I'm like, oh, I need to do this. But then I just write it down on Keep and then it's there and I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
I just know it'll be tomorrow Jack's problem, as it should be. It shouldn't be 7 p.m. Jack's problem.
No.
Let it be 10 a.m. So that's a win. I think we should talk about band festival setup because that's like
let
system.
me look to see where my work keys are. Oh my gosh, my phone died. What is wrong? No, it didn't.
Are you trolling me now?
No, I'm not trolling you, Jack.
We just
Oh, okay. We got
You're clocking me?
Jack, you said a lot already, and my mind
Fine.
is full.
Fine.
Okay.
Take the wheel.
Okay. Band festival. Band festival, I just told you what that was. And it is a logistic opportunity for the band staff. Right?
And the children.
And the children. But we have to make the system so then the children just can follow.
Yes.
So this is what Jack does. So the concert was last night, May 6th. 3 weeks ago, I got shared a spreadsheet with Jack. And Jack sent me a tab that said, please enter your name of your students and put in what band they're in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a code system, like a letter code for what instrument they play. That we assign like flutes or A's and oboes B's, right?
Right. So that is for our spreadsheets to show students in what we call score order. And flutes are always at the top when you look at sheet music, and tubas are always at the bottom. And you can't alphabetize instruments because then it won't come up in that order. So the lettering system makes it in what we call score order. So that happened a while ago. And to give Steve credit, he's the one that started this system. You did this with Max way back in the day, right?
Did it with Max Jones way back. Yep. And Gabe Burton.
And then you kind of handed it off to me.
Right.
So we get a massive spreadsheet with every kid in every band.
So every band director puts their kids' names in there.
Yes.
And then so that's like Jack's got the macro. We got the micro because we know the spelling and we know the
instrument.
And so we just follow in the spreadsheet. We just kind of follow suit. And then we have this list of 400 odd names. And then Jack color codes it.
So every band gets an individual color, which we'll come back to in a second. So here's the challenge is we have to make a band setup for 425 kids. And you need we've typically had about 8 or 9 rows, and the first row is always like 16, and the last row is somewhere between 60 and 90, depending on the year. So if you're imagining this, like trying to set up what that would look like as a band and keeping, all the trumpets in the back and putting the flutes up front and so the tubas in the back, but having the French horns all on one side in a couple rows, like it can get dicey. So starting macro, working micro. So Steve has devised a way to make the tech work for him, and then he kind of passed this on to me. So we get all the kids in that spreadsheet, and then once we have all of the kids labeled in the correct spot, we go to a separate spreadsheet, put in totals for the instruments, just so we can see the numbers we're working with. So we may have 40 flutes, 60 clarinets, 70 trumpets, 80 trombones. And whatever those numbers play out to, then we have to start thinking, how do we want this to look in the band setup?
Right, because you can't just like put all the trumpets, for those of you that aren't band directors understand, you can't just put all the trumpets in one row and all the clarinets in one row. It doesn't. Like you kind of
To be in pockets.
It's a picture,
Yeah.
and you have to put the right pieces in the picture, right?
So once we have the numbers, I will sketch it out like on my iPad and just say like, okay, this is what the row should look like. Here's where the kids should be in the rows, because I'm a band director and I kind of know where I want my instruments to be in the band setup. So once we do that, then we try and figure out what the sizes of the rows should be approximately and how that would work. And then you're playing like a Sudoku game for a while.
But then it's all in a grid, isn't it?
This is genius that you came up with. So we have like a sum. I mean, if you're like a sheets wizard, you can make sums and everything. So we have sums going left and right and up and down, trying to line up the instrument numbers, trying to line up how many kids we want in a row. So we have like the left axis is adding up the instrument totals, how many flutes there are. The up and down axis adds up how many kids are in that row. So we have target numbers in the rows, target numbers in the instrumentation, and then we just have to play around in the grid in the middle to try and figure out how many you can have in
you want
certain rows.
each row to expand like in a certain ratio. I don't think we have that ratio like on an equation.
No.
But we kind of look back at past years and kind of see what works.
Correct.
Right.
So that takes some playing around with to try and get it right. And then once we have it, like the rows are correct and we have the approximate number of kids, I go back to that master document. It's fun. And I did kind of get into this. I was kind of grinding out, and it was kind of fun. I was like, I think we got it.
And then you put in the row.
Then you put in a separate column of row and a column of seat. So if you're all the flutes are in the entire first row is flutes. So you're going to put row 1, seat 1 to the left of the director, all the way through row 1, seat 16.
Okay.
And then you do that little drag thing when sheets, and it just like auto-populates the box. Great.
Yeah.
Then you move on to row 2, and there's still some flutes left. So you got to go to the flutes and finish row 2, seat 1, and then however many flutes you have. But then you got to put some clarinets in row 2 as well. And then you go to clarinet, row 2, and then you drag like 5 or 6 in. But then you got to go back into the next row and add some clarinets in, and then you have to start at a different number.
Yeah.
So there are all these numbers flying around, and it can get really messy if you're not careful.
Right.
But then you go back and check, and then you can organize the sheet instead of by the instruments and names, by the rows and seats. And then it totally shifts the entire thing. So you have child row 1, seat 1, all the way through to row 8, seat 65. And then all the numbers should still add up to 425 if you did the math right.
Right. Okay, but then also you're leaving out another part of it because you can't. So the idea is that we have all these students together, and that you don't want all your beginners sitting together. You don't want your 7th graders sitting together. You don't want your 8th graders. You want them intermingled, right?
So that's where the color code comes in.
So then the color code comes in. So then Jack is looking at it, and you probably have like this rainbow thing. You're going da 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 da, repeat da 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 da.
And then once you see 2 colors in a row, you're like, oh, we got to fix this. So then we kind of have to manually drag and drop kids so that the 2 colors.
And then you alphabetized it by their first name,
just to randomize it a little bit. Yeah.
We didn't want to by random. We didn't want to alphabetize it by the last name because then that gets really predictable.
Yeah.
And like you're sitting by the same kids all the time.
Right.
So number, row, number, seat, color code for which band, letter tells them what instrument they are, and then randomized by first name, and then
we manually go in and remove doubles of color next to each other.
Right.
So we want every kid sitting next to somebody from a different band.
a new band. So that I know that sounds like it is a lot, but the system works for you.
Right. And that whole process probably took maybe an hour.
Okay.
That'd be a lot, but maybe an hour.
And that had been kind of like formulated, and I'm sure you're continuing to tweak it, and that's going to be in place. But then in the good old days, like up until 2 years ago, then Jack would have that database, that spreadsheet would be printed onto labels. Then those would be color-coded labels. And then the weekend before Band Festival, all the chairs would be lined up. Then we have our students put the chairs label the chairs. So every student in that 425 member band has their own label, their own color, and they know where they're sitting. Now, so that was up until 2 years ago. And the rental company that we're using for the chairs said, your stickers are leaving residue. Please don't do that anymore. So now Jack took another step, and he got some help from some people in the department, but he basically took the spreadsheet, cut it into strips. And for each line of the grid, bundled them together with a paper clip, had buku'd little pieces of tape. Then you get your kids, and they actually scotch tape each one of those to the bottom of this, or to where the students sit. So then at the end of the night, we can just rip those off, and there's no residue left. So we kind of went backwards on that. That's out of our control.
Right.
Like the labels would have been better, but we don't want to leave residue in the chairs.
Correct. So that got us through creating the seating chart, but then we actually had to build the setup. So this was also your thing, and you kind of helped me with this, and we have to have the kids help us build this. So we have about 40 minutes with 40 kids, probably 35 when you count the transition time, and then another 35 minutes with a separate 40 kids. This is our band classes at the end of the day. And we walk them into the band room, we sit them down, and have this giant, like, basically a diagram of a basketball gym showing them how we're going to set up chairs, where we set them up, because if you're not careful and you build your rows incorrectly, it could be collapsed, it could be blown up too much, the percussion won't have room. But we're basically charting out where each of the ends chairs
Your
are,
anchors.
the anchored chairs. So you have 8 rows back. You say, okay, you're going to put the first 2 chairs right on the half court line, and the back 2 chairs in the 8th row are going to be right on the sideline, and then you're going to evenly space out the ones in between. Then going left and right, you're on this sideline. Chair 4 is right about on the free throw line on this side, and then chair 1's on the half court line, and then we fill them in, and then we say go, put them in.
So we had a bunch of chairs sitting in a vestibule outside the gym. So we go down there after Jack had shared with him the plan and gave him a handout with the expectations and the grid on there and the road numbers. We said, okay, we go down there and we say, okay, here's the chairs. The gym is empty. And then you start from scratch. And at first it kind of seems like a tugboat. You're like,
It is.
huh. And and there's some kids that are like getting in there and like putting the anchor chairs in, and then kids start filling in chairs, but they're not really sure why or what. They're just like, but then it always happens, and this year more than usual, there's just more kids that kind of were worker bees. They were bringing in chairs like they were bringing in the ammunition that we needed, but then there were some students that kind of took the lead and said, no, this is 16. Okay, second row is 32. Yes. No, it's 28. We got to spread this out. And then really by the end of that first block of 40 minutes, all chairs were set.
Yes.
And that was all chairs were set for the mass band and
for the 2 tiny bands.
For the 2 tiny
bands,
bands, like the small concert bands that play in front. And so that was done in 40 minutes.
Those kids destroyed it. It was awesome.
Yeah, and it looked like there was not like mess of chairs and stands. And then the second group came in, the advanced bands came in, and then they put the stands in. Mm-hmm. And they had rules and expectations to how to put the stands in and how many chairs per stand. And then we had a jazz band set up. And so then the last thing to do was the name tags. And then, some students had asked me about them. I guess you shared. Yeah. You shared them.
I gave it to them, said, here's what we're doing.
And you never put anything on there.
No, and it was done with probably 20 minutes to spare.
Yeah.
Like we were done like an hour of work. That was cool.
And then in the meantime, Matt Allman was working with the percussion. And so there's percussion that got trucked over from the junior high, and then all the other high school percussion got wheeled down. And we have all the percussion equipment up. We have the jazz band set up. We have all this stuff. And then at 3:30, school ended at 3:20. At 3:30, we had a jazz band rehearsal for the staff band.
Yep.
We were done.
Yeah, it was
great. We weren't like monkeying around. We weren't like, I got to stop. It was done.
We're good.
So.
And our kids are like the best workers.
Yep.
And that's not like that's not like a dig. That's like such a compliment.
No,
When they understand the task,
they go for it.
they destroy the task. They are all over it. And any time that they, like, if we ask them to do work, and by work, I'm not saying like school, I'm saying like set up chairs or tear down stuff, because that's kind of the life of band directors.
Right.
We got to do that stuff. And the kids are always able and willing to help. But if we are clear about what the task is and how to achieve it, our kids destroy it
Yes.
every time. And if they don't, it's on us.
Yeah.
It's because we weren't clear enough about it.
Yeah. So that's a great example of how the structure of the system many decades ago took time to develop. Each year it takes a little bit of time to tweak, but then the uploading of the data to get the system rolling does not really take that much time. And then what that means then is that you have a product that's organized and that is detailed, and then that you can communicate with teenagers, and then boom, this gets done. And if you didn't have that system, you could have a really chaotic time.
You could.
And if you didn't share it with your students, it would just be on the adults.
Which there's 7 of us.
Right. That wouldn't have been
Wouldn't work.
That's we didn't rehearse band one day, but we set up 600 chairs, so it was well worth it.
Oh yeah.
And then the reverse, we're almost out of time, but the reverse of that is like when the concert was ended, within 30 minutes the gym was clear.
We do get parent help from that. We get people who
Building services.
Yeah, and the concert ends and we say, if you're able, and we
Right.
tell the kids, 5 chairs, 5 stands?
Yep.
High school kids, you got to get 5 chairs and 5 stands racked, and if we do that, majority of the work's done. And then probably 20, 30 kids, it might have been even more than that, stayed after that and helped us move gear, larger equipment like percussion and stand racks back, kind of picked up some trash that was around. And then, the last note was off at 9. We were in our cars by 10.
Yep. Yeah. And that was not taking anything, like I didn't carry anything from the gym back to the music department. Like I wasn't carrying trash, people's folders, drumsticks.
Kids took care of it.
It was all taken care of by the kids.
Yeah.
And again, we did have parents and other teachers that helped, but they came back and combed through it. Checked with building services today. They're like, yeah, everything's good. And all the material got pushed back to the junior high. The chairs got picked up by the rental company. You go into the gym, it was like nothing happened. So that's a good example of system. That's a good example of like having the system work for you, and then also with communication, which Jack rolled that stuff out. So that was good.
Stay tuned for Jazz Cafe System.
That's
next
coming
week.
up. That's true. Okay. So if you like what you hear, please follow us on Spotify or on Apple Podcast under Chops Podcast. And if you like watching our funny little reels that our technical director is taking care of right here, Jack, and you're watching Instagram and TikTok, that's under Chops_podcast.
Do it.
Do it now.
Okay, for Jack Hinkle.
And for Steve Peterson.
Right.
Bye-bye.